Hello everyone, I haven't been here for a while. It is good to be back. Today is March 10th. It is day 521 of the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. And we are in between phase 1 and phase 2. We still have 59 hostages in Gaza, and it's believed that only 24 of them are still alive. We're going to talk about potential deals, if at all. Here it says, "Hatargil ha'Amerikai," the American ruse, "V'halachatz al Hamas," the pressure on Hamas. We're going to get all into the details of that. Quite a lot going on. Israel also has a new IDF spokesperson, Dover Tzahal Chadash, new IDF spokesperson, Tat Aluf Effi Daprin, Brigadier General Effi Daprin, after having a year and a half of the very beloved spokesperson, Daniel Hagari. Let's get into all of the news. I'm going to do something a bit opposite than what we usually do. I'm going to start with the caricature, because I want you guys to sort of have this image in your head of how strange this sort of felt for the government of Israel and the general public. So in this picture, you can see Trump sitting at a table with Hamas, his hands, all bloody, this Hamas terrorist. And the Hamas terrorist is actually looking towards the door, where a very nervous looking Bibi is looking into what is happening. This sort of shocked Israel, but also it's apparent that this happened sort of like under the noses of Israel. I'm going to read you guys the title, "Hatargil ha'Amerikai," the American ruse, "Ha'iyum ha'Israeli," the threat, the Israeli threat. So what happened actually in the last few days is that it became apparent that actually the Trump administration basically sat at the table with Hamas to try and sort of make their own deal. Now, in the past, I think there was in the Biden administration some kind of trying to make a deal for the American hostages, but it was a very different thing this time that the Trump administration actually sat directly, not through any mediators, with Hamas. So the Americans decided to do this, but the Israelis were sort of not aware of this happening. And when they were asked, why the reason of it was for, they said that they're not the messengers of Israel. Basically, they're not their liaisons in that way. The American envoy for the hostages, Adam Boehler, basically exposed yesterday that the whole point was to convince Hamas to the Witkoff deal. What was the Witkoff deal? The Witkoff deal was basically an exchange of 10 hostages that are either in really bad physical condition or that they're being tortured in exchange for 60 days of a ceasefire and more aid. And so they were basically trying to make their own deal with Hamas. Of course, we already know that failed, so that didn't happen. One of those hostages within those 10 is the IDF soldier Idan Alexander. He was a tankist, and you guys might remember him from a very famous video of him being basically taken out of the tank unconscious, and you can see Gazan civilians and Gazan terrorists. And they basically took him captive. He was severely injured. We know that he's being tortured, not just from the testimonies of the hostages that have come back, but also because Hamas basically put out propaganda videos of him. Some have been published and some haven't. And you see, quite literally, if you look at before and after videos of him or photos, you can see one, just a completely normal face, and the other one is, broken nose, disfigured, red eye, you can tell that he's being beaten, he's being tortured. There was also another unreleased video of him being basically lynched by a whole bunch of Gazans. And so the families of the hostages are in so much distress. And I want you guys to imagine this in your head right now. If you knew that one of your loved ones was in the hands of Hamas, being tortured and beaten and interrogated and starved, I think that you would do everything that you can to get them back. And so the stress right now in Israel is very palpable, even for normal civilians like me. You can feel the stress between phase 1 ending and the potential of phase 2, which Hamas is sort of trying to drag out. And so if you are a praying person, please pray for this situation, because the Americans are trying to get one kind of deal, Israel is trying to get another type of deal, and Hamas is just sort of they're winning in a sense because they've got nothing to lose. They hold very important cards in their hands, which is our hostages. And we are people that value life. and they value death. And so it's a very difficult thing to go through. So if you're a praying person, continue to pray for the hostages, for the hostage deal, and also for all the people that are suffering from the fact that within these hostage deals, terrorists have been released, and these terrorists have taken away their loved ones. So it's a very, very intense time, and your prayers are appreciated. We have a new chief of staff in Israel, and apparently that also comes with a new IDF spokesperson. Here it says, Hadover Hashirioner, the tankist spokesperson. It says here 2 days after the chief of staff decided to not promote Daniel Hagari, the former IDF spokesperson, to a general, he basically he showed him the door to his way out, and he put in place a new IDF spokesperson, Brigadier General Effi Daprin. Effi Daprin actually was severely injured. He has not been in the IDF for 33 years, and he was actually asked, I think it says here 2 times, he was asked 2 times to be the IDF spokesperson, and he refused because he doesn't like politics, and for that reason he was sort of like not wanting to be in this role. But after they met with him, face to face, he basically took on this role. And the reason I think why a lot of people are not necessarily unhappy with the new choice of the IDF spokesperson, but you can see here Daniel Hagari. Daniel Hagari was the IDF spokesperson for the duration of the war, so at least a year and a half. And what people loved about Daniel Hagari, and what I also loved about him, is that he was very, very human. There was a lot of complaints, with our government, towards our government, about their sort of lack of humanity. And this is just, the general public's opinion. But the IDF spokesperson, his whole point was to convey information. And so that type of information is, what happened about certain operations, the deaths of hostages, anything that was sort of really, really important for Israel to know and the world to know. He would come on that stage, speak in Hebrew and English, and give that message to the public. And actually he even did something even more than his role required. And so he would actually go to places like inside the tunnels of Hamas. And when 6 of the hostages were murdered brutally, he went inside those tunnels and basically showed the public what they were seeing. And that really wasn't his role to do, but he did that because he said that he wanted to touch everything with his 10 fingers, that he said that he wanted to be involved in telling the public and also telling the families of the hostages exactly what happened in that tunnel. He would meet with those families, and those families said that it was very rare for them. They're like, what are you doing here? Like, why are you, as the IDF spokesperson, are coming to tell us these details? Like, someone else could do that. And he said, if I don't do it myself, I feel like it won't be done well. And so he felt like a moral responsibility to be there for the people. And so a lot of people just sort of feel like, why did you sort of kick him out? Why didn't you bring him up to promote him, and not only that, but just show him the door. And so Daniel Hagari basically, he said that he would, leave the army and won't be in any kind of service of this type anymore. I just hope that Daniel Hagari feels appreciated by the Israeli public, certainly appreciated by me. Before we get to our good news, I want to just touch really briefly on something that, again, if you're a praying person, please pray for this, of what's happening in Syria. It says here, Hazva'ah, the horror, v'nisyonot ha'harga'a, and the attempts to sort of like calm it down. The new regime basically is going to the Alawites, which is the people of Assad that live on the coast of Syria, and I think it's 4 different cities, and they basically went on a killing spree, not just killing the armed forces of Assad, but they're also killing civilians, and they're also killing Christians. So till now, it's been said that 1,500 have been murdered. And it says here that they're literally taking them, like there's bodies in the streets, they're putting them on bulldozers and just carrying them to, these mass graves, or they're literally just thrown into the sea. And if you guys have seen any of the videos, it's absolutely horrific. And many of these people are innocent and some of them are not. Some of them are literally terrorists that just now that they're not in control anymore, they don't have the upper hand. But amongst those people are also Christians. And so just have your, prayers towards this, because if you've seen any of the videos, it is actually quite literally what it says. It's zva'a, it's horrendous. And it also affects Israel. I even saw the Alawites begging Israel to help them, to send them aid, to send them, some kind of help, because we understand what a genocide is, which is something I never thought would happen, that the former Assad regime would ask Israel for help. So they're in a desperate need, but please be praying for that. And let's look at some good news. It is back to school season, but not because it's after the summer break, but because part of the war that as we know it in the north has sort of come to a halt, hopefully to an end. The schools up north are starting to open again and to function. So it says here that at least half of the schools, or half of the students up north are going back to school. And you can literally see here this huge balloon display saying Chozrim Habaita, coming back home. It also falls on a very sort of happy holiday here in Israel called Purim. In Purim, it's based on the book of Esther, and all of the kids, they go and they dress up in different costumes. And so, hopefully this will be part of their good return. And one of the students here says, "Meregesh oti lachzor lachaverim velabait." It excites me to come back to my friends and to school. A lot of them have been basically, displaced. They've been living in different places. They've tried to keep the groups together, their study groups together, their classes together, but still there's no place like home. And she says here, I hope it's the last time that I'll be evacuated from, my village. I don't want to leave our home again. And so you can see a lot of happy faces here, happy to return to their, natural environment with their friends. And so we're very happy that after a year and a half, they can go back to school. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, be praying and let us know where you're watching us from and what you thought about today and what's happening in Israel and also in Syria. Thank you guys for watching. If you want more Israel-related content, go to allisrael.com. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell, and we'll see you guys in the next one.